Good evening, everyone. We begin the readout tonight with more proof of the idiocy and sycophancy of the Republican Party, led by Trump puppet Kevin McCarthy, whose plot to become House Speaker comes with a new twist. That twist comes in the form of audio recordings confirming how Kevin really felt about Trump in the days after the January 6th insurrection. Just yesterday, McCarthy vehemently denied a New York Times report saying he was among Republicans who thought Trump should resign over his role in the Capitol attack. Hours after that flat-out denial, we heard McCarthy saying exactly what the New York Times excerpt of a new book said that he said in an audio recording heard for the first time on the Rachel Maddow show last night. Hey, Kevin, ever heard of a tape recorder, audio recordings? You know, that's what ultimately brought down the Nixon presidency. They are a thing. And this damning one that we just heard occurred days after Trump supporters stormed the Capitol. It was a conversation between McCarthy and the Republican leadership team, including Representative Liz Cheney, who was ousted from party leadership weeks later over her opposition to Trump.
But what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to call him. This is what I think. No, it'll pass the House. I think there's a chance it'll pass the Senate even when he's gone. Again, I mean, the only discussion I would have with him is that I think this will pass, and it would be my recommendation we should resign.
New reporting by the Washington Post reveals that McCarthy spoke on the phone with Trump last night after Rachel Maddow played this audio. NBC News also reported that McCarthy called Trump to apologize, saying he was just placating Liz Cheney and was paying her lip service. Our source added that Trump isn't really mad. Phew, right, Kev? And then we got more audio this morning, this time of McCarthy saying that Trump admitted to bearing some responsibility for the attack.
Let me be very clear to all of you, and I've been very clear to the president. He bears responsibilities for his words and actions. No ifs, ands, or buts. I asked him personally today, does he hold responsibility for what happened? Does he feel bad about what happened? He told me he does have some responsibility for what happened. And he needs to acknowledge that.
Keep in mind, this is now the second time that we know of that Kevin has made a dash to kiss Trump's ring. The first time being when McCarthy made a pilgrimage to Mar-a-Lago shortly after the insurrection. This is the guy who in 2016 said that he believed Trump is on Putin's payroll. And no, he wasn't joking. He knows Trump was responsible for January 6th. He knows it was unacceptable, but he's willing to swallow every indignity in exchange for power, reducing himself to the spineless, wormy little puppet of a Florida retiree. The same goes for his Senate counterpart, Mitch McConnell, who said about Trump, quote, the Democrats are going to take care of the son of a bee for us. This is according to the forthcoming book, This Will Not Pass, by New York Times reporters Alex Burns and Jonathan Martin. Unlike McCarthy, who's denied this new reporting, McConnell has decided to just stay mum. We know Republican leadership is spineless and cowardly, that they are beholden to a twice-impeached kleptocrat whose thirst for power struck at the heart of our democracy. But these tapes make McCarthy's position in the party highly questionable. He must now face the Twitter pitchforks of the MAGA cult wing of the party. And he has two choices. Either the rabid Republican sect takes him out, or Trump keeps him in place as his personal puppet. Either way, McCarthy is walking a tightrope as he vies to become House Speaker, a path that now glaringly reflects his lies and his party's anti-democratic demise. And joining me now is Rick Wilson, former Republican strategist and co-founder of the Lincoln Project, Democratic strategist Juanita Tolliver, and NBC News presidential historian Michael Beschloss, host of the Fireside History on Peacock. Thank you all for being here. Rick, it's a whodunit, partly, because if you think about it, you know, I see Republican Civil War kind of everywhere. You know, folks are leaking photos of folks and leaking, audio recordings and handing them over to these authors, and they say they got lots more. Is this, in your view, a sign that within the caucus, there are those who simply want to throw Kevin McCarthy out of the way, or something else?
There's no question, Joy. There are a half a dozen aspirants to the throne. All of them have had a closer relationship with Trump than McCarthy has had. Kevin is not of that world. Remember, in 2016, Kevin said, "Oh, I think Putin pays Trump." That divided those two men. They never got better. They always have had some hostility between them because of that. And Trump never forgets a slight. But, you know, with the people that the horse race right now in Washington, it was Jim Jordan for a while who looked like the one who would take out McCarthy. But today, the buzz in D.C. is all about Elise Stefanik, that she's the one who's behind some of this, and she's putting the knife into this guy. And she's extremely ambitious. She has a very close relationship to Trump. She's gone full MAGA in every way. And so I think if Kevin, is thinking through his immediate future, telling major donors, as he has been, that unless they keep him, he can't block the Trump people, I think Kevin should get a food taster at this point.
And by the way, Elise Stefanik is Kevin McCarthy. This is Elise Stefanik. Let's go. This is cut 6 for my producers. Before she became a Trump cult leader, she called him misogynistic. She called him soft on Putin. She called him to recognize that Russia attacked the 2016 election. She urged him to release his tax returns. She went after him for his comments. She is Kevin McCarthy. So to stay with you for a minute, Rick, they're just exchanging. All of them are Kevin McCarthy. Mitch McConnell can't stand Kevin McCarthy. Can't stand Donald Trump. You can tell. And he literally said, I'm glad the Democrats are going to take him out. None of the problem I see here is spinelessness, cowardice, and this desperation for power at all costs. They're all clutching for the ring, and, they all think they're going to get it.
Right. They're all after this. They all believe they can get Trump's blessing. Trump's fickle love will fall on them the day of the vote. But the reality of the caucus, of the Republican caucus, Joy, it's not the Republicans we grew up with. It will be more nuttier. It will be more MAGA. It will be more conspiratorial. It will be more crazy. And Stefanik, who is very good with Trump right now, but you're right, though. She is, from the DNA of Kevin McCarthy. She was a George W. Bush person. And, now she's sort of like a dress barn Jim Jordan. And it's just, this is a totally, character she's playing now in Washington in order to take that job from Kevin McCarthy.
And Juanita, I see the Democrats sort of sitting off on the side while this party dissolves into just a hot, crazy mess. I mean, there's going to be more tapes that are going to prove that none of these people really believe any of this. But they're willing to do it. They're willing to throw their dignity aside. They're willing to throw the United States and our democracy aside in this desperate clutch for power where they think they're going to be the new Duma when Trump becomes the czar. It's undignified, but it's also not being answered. I mean, J.D. Vance of Yale is out there pretending that he represents the little guy and the Trumpists when he hates Donald Trump and said he was maybe Hitler. And none of that matters. They're all genuflecting toward this man who has no power currently. And I wonder if you feel that there is sort of a missed opportunity here to message about not only the danger of these people taking over, who clearly will all just be Trump's little hand puppets, but also the danger that it poses that they actually don't care that he tried to overthrow democracy.
I think that is absolutely a big opportunity in messaging for the midterms, Joy, because what we saw even the president say today, this isn't the party that we grew up with. This is the party of MAGA, and making that a central theme and outlining and just replaying what Republicans have already said they're going to do if they flip the House, if they retake power is critical. I'm talking removing Democrats from committees for no reason, like false investigations and impeachment trials and hearings into Biden. Like all of that needs to be replayed so that the public fully knows what they're up against, because all this entire Congress, while Democrats have been trying to deliver for the public, Republicans have been doing everything they can to break down every institution that exists in this country, the latest being our elections and our democracy. And so having all of that footage, Democrats absolutely need to deploy it. And they can't just sit back and let this moment play out because, Republicans are going to keep coming for each other. Trump is absolutely going to wade into this and blow it up even further. But Democrats have to jump on this as an opportunity to continue to explain to voters what they are in for if Republicans win the midterms.
Let me bring you in here, Michael, because I know as a historian who's, chronicled the occasionally dignified practice of American politics, your head has to be exploding.
Sometimes.
I mean, we have a situation here where you have a party that I don't even know what to describe it as. It's sort of the last stages of of a cult. Sort of at the end game stage where they all start to take the Kool-Aid. And then you have the Democrats who don't seem sufficiently alarmed about it and who don't seem to really know how to respond to it. Is there any equivalent moment in American history when it has been this mad?
Well, let's take a look at another moment in American history, and that was August of 1974. Richard Nixon was revealed on his tapes to have committed crimes against the Constitution. But there's a very good chance that Nixon's crimes were much less than what Donald Trump may have done on the 6th of January. Kevin McCarthy obviously knew that, because on the tape that we're talking about, he's talking about, the 25th Amendment and Trump should resign and almost, certain impeachment and possible conviction by the Senate. He knew that a big crime had been committed against the Constitution. So did the House minority leader of 1974, which is John Rhodes of Arizona. And what did Rhodes do? Rhodes went down to the White House, saw Richard Nixon, said, "You have to resign. You've gone way too far. I don't care if we're both Republicans. You have to be out now." What did Kevin McCarthy do? He said the things that we've heard on this tape. I've had it, and maybe Liz, I should talk to him again. And then, very quickly, that moment where Kevin McCarthy went down to Mar-a-Lago, you said he kissed his ring. I think he probably kissed another body part of Donald Trump on the 28th of January, and that famous picture that looked almost like other surrenders in world history that I don't want to specify. But here's a case where within 8 days, there's the picture, within 8 days of Trump leaving office, Kevin McCarthy, who, shortly before had been on this tape talking to Liz Cheney about resignation and impeachment and 25th Amendment and crimes against the Constitution, here he is running down to Mar-a-Lago, posing with him and bringing him right back into polite society 8 days after Biden's inauguration. If any of us do not like the fact that Donald Trump is as powerful as he is today, thank Kevin McCarthy, because he's the one who did it.